So thank you. I have you on the big screen too. So I have a lot of views in my view here.
Ah,
I read your book many years ago and it has been great. A lot of challenges today. So it was good timing for this. Sorry. Mostly wondering, how do you balance feeling compassionate for others that you've hurt and maintaining balance of compassion for yourself?
right. That's a very good question. And I also feel the, the, the hurt in you. Just to, first of all, maybe just thank you for your bravery in acknowledging that. Every single person here on this Zoom call has done something similar, including yours truly. Part of being a human being means we hurt others sometimes. That's part of what it means to be human. We all do it. And so there's really a couple things here. There's compassion and there's also forgiveness, and they aren't exactly the same thing. So compassion is really just, especially the tender self-compassion, is holding the pain with love, holding the hurt with love. And the love doesn't really even differentiate, my pain, your pain. So the compassion just flows. It's like this ocean that flows toward anything that's arising. So your own heart, the pain of hurting someone, and it hurts. It hurts sometimes much more when we hurt someone else than we hurt ourselves, right? We all know that. We've all done it. So our own pain, and by the way, your own pain and having hurt someone is completely valid, worth compassion just as much as anyone else's pain. All pain's worthy of compassion. So you have the full right to giving yourself compassion for the pain of hurting someone else. It's not like you don't get to because it was your fault. Well, that's the first thing, right? So the compassion can flow to your pain and the pain of the person you cared about, that you hurt, and you feel badly, and your heart goes out to them, and your heart can go out to yourself. And really, just you can almost imagine it as just this ocean, this field, this flowing inward and flowing outward. And that is a little different than forgiveness. And so some of these are definitions, but the way I look at forgiveness is kind of moving on toward the point of letting go of any resentment for for the hurt that's happened. This can be for ourselves or others, because when we resent ourselves for hurting someone, just like you might resent someone else for hurting you. First thing is, you have to feel compassion for the pain before you go to forgiveness. Sometimes people forgive others or forgive themselves as a way to get rid of the pain of the hurt, as a kind of bypass. And if you do that, it won't really work. It won't really be genuine. So, the first step is feeling the pain of hurting them, feeling their pain as much as you can allow yourself to. And then if you want to move on to forgiveness, and by the way, that's irrespective of whether or not the other person forgives you, but forgiving yourself. So first acknowledging the pain. And then when you feel, you're ready to kind of just move on, to let it go, to move forward, to give up that resentment, to kind of work through it. And this is where the fierce self-compassion comes in, which is really committing to, as much as you can, now you're only human, but as much as you can, to not doing it again. Right? So if it's just like, oh, I forgive myself, and then, tomorrow you're just doing the same thing you did, it's kind of shallow. But the fierce self-compassion is that firm, no more, And so and again, you aren't going to be perfect. You will still hurt people. But if forgiveness is combined with a commitment to, as much as humanly possible, to try not to hurt again, then then you've learned the lesson, so to speak. The part of the reasons we don't want to forgive ourselves is we think we're just going to do it again. We almost want to hold it. We want to hold ourselves accountable. And it's a good thing to hold ourselves accountable. But then we don't need to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. The accountable bit is the commitment to really kind of as much as possible, I commit to not doing it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I had a hard time getting to a forgiveness state. I think that your book was so great when I first read it, because I felt like I can do. I can do compassion when I couldn't do self-forgiveness. I could
Yeah.
feel compassionate for myself without feeling
Yeah.
forgivable necessarily.
Yeah.
I think I'm just having issues where I'm not quite sure how to express, this is specifically to my son, that I am sorry for what I've done. I'm compassionate for him, but I'm also not the same. And,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to balance that conversation with him, I guess.
Yeah. And that's a slightly, you might say it's a slightly different issue in terms of what goes on with you internally and what goes on in your conversation with your son. Right. So I think the internal conversation, it sounds like you've had sounds like you're doing it, but obviously there's still a lot there, which is totally natural and understandable. But I would actually start with yourself, even before, if you can, having the conversation, so that as much as possible, your heart's open to yourself. And then when your heart's open. And then when you have your conversation with your son, it's kind of like almost similar to the person who's dealing with someone who's angry. If you're just this ocean of compassion, and then your son, who knows how he's going to react, and your son's on his own journey. You can't control your son. I don't know how old he is, but he's his own person, whatever age he is. And you can't control his reactions, and he's got his own process to go through in terms of his process of forgiveness of you. But again, if in other words, you are more than what happened. You're more than even the conversation. You're more than the emotions that are coming up for you and the emotions that are coming up for your son. Who you really are is this loving, open heart. That's who you truly are. And the more you can kind of rest in that larger self, that larger loving presence, then the conversation, it will still be difficult, but you'll be situated in a little better position as you have the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because
Yeah.
I can feel that sometimes, and then, whoo, man, it
Yeah.
gets tight.
Yeah. 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 Well, so, and again, I know that one also from personal experience, making poor decisions. You were doing the best you could at the time. If you could have done something differently that was better, you would have done something differently. But that was just where you at the time, that was your only option, because at that moment, where you were, your thoughts, the emotions, all these things, that's just what happened. You would have done differently if you could have. And if you remember that, even maybe you wouldn't say that to your son, but if you remember that for yourself, then you can just let go of a lot of it is like we're trying to change the past. We think that somehow if we're guilty enough that somehow we can change the past. We can't. It happened. It's what arose. And that's just being,
Yeah. Human.
human. It's so human. It's so human. Anyway, well, good
Well,
luck
thank
in conversation.
Yes.
Compassionate
But I
mess.
appreciate
Yes,
it.
that's right. You can be a compassionate mess. Absolutely.
That's right.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.